After losing some of their team members, our hero's team finally grasped something about the commandments of the dungeon. Worship the god, praise the god, believe the god. These three are those main commandments of the dungeon. Our hero realized that the term god represents the big statue which our hero feared earlier. There suddenly the story moves to a classroom where our hero's sister is studying. She is taking with her friend about his weak brother to return home safely without knowing the big danger he is in. Here in dungeon, just while our hero and the team leader analyzing the commandments, one of their team members suddenly started to rush towards the gate without obeying the leader and Jinwoo's words. But all he could run towards was the certain radius around the statue, and then only his legs were the rest. The biggest god statue reacted, and in a split second, that statue threw the whole crew into chaos. Everyone started to lose their calmness. But what confuses our hero was why the god spared everyone until now even with such great power. That's the moment where the whole situation of the dungeon strikes our hero's knowledge. The commandments are the key to escape from the dungeon. The first commandment was to worship the god so that everyone who is kneeling is spared and the one who stood up was eradicated right away. Once our hero grasped the rules, he suddenly wants to test it out by standing up right away. But it's not that easy. After witnessing the immense power of the statue, everyone is already frozen in fear except our hero who has immense will to survive. He decides to test the first commandment just by raising his head for only 1 inch. The next moment he lowered his head with intense adrenaline bump because the statue reacted. If only he is just a bit late to do that, he is a jar of ash. But with that movement, our hero finally confirmed the way to escape that dungeon, alive. If they follow those 3 commandments, they are saved. So our hero asked everyone to kneel before the statue along with him, to worship the god. Even though everyone hesitated to listen to an E-rank hunter, their sense of survival automatically forces them to follow him. After seeing everyone is kneeling before the statue, the expression on its face completely changed into a creepiest smile ever. The statue forces them to accept it as their god and feels the satisfaction in their action. Yo man. What kind of god is it? Once everyone sees that expression, they understand the first commandment is succeeded and one by one, everyone started to come to their normal stage. So now everyone in the team completely understands about the dungeon and the commandments. Even if they analyze the situation, they are still inside the dungeon and 2 more commandments are still there. The next one is to praise the god, otherwise the death. To make them realize the danger, all of a sudden that statue stands up and starts to walk towards them. Everyone's heart has started its race like a jet engine. Everyone is frozen in fear once again, while the statue started to crush one by stepping on them, which made them hustle to shuffle. Everyone is separated to edge of the room, which itself became the biggest threat to them. When the one fat guy goes near the other statues of the room, he was split into 2 in an instant. The other statues are also threat to their life. If they don't obey the commandment and vary of these conditions, they are dead. Now they not only look for the way to sucks the commandment but also escape those other dangers, but which in turns became a point to decode the commandment for our hero right away. He starts to notice the other statues in the edge of the room, some of them have swords and weapons, but some other has musical instruments. On seeing them, our hero got the hang of the second commandment to praise the god. Usually every praising ceremony will be complete with none other than the music, and the statues who wield weapon kill the people, so everyone should go near those statues with musical instruments to succeed the second commandment. But even if our hero decoded the commandment, it's too hard to escape the statues for them. Almost half of their teammates are already dead. He conveyed a trust of them anyway, and others almost secured their place too. Only 2, our hero and his crush are left near a musical statue, but when they reach the statue, it exhibits another condition. A statue accepts only 1 person to be activated, so our hero has to find another statue by leaving her under that one statue. Even though he did a heroistic work by saving the girl, saving himself became a big challenge now. Right after he moves from her, that big statue moves its leg towards him and almost steps on him. And even with the force of its leg throws our hero like a feather straight to a nearby statue with a weapon. Exactly, like it was expecting this moment, it suddenly put its whole weight on our hero to crush him right away. But luckily, he got escaped just with a leg crushed. Our hero lost a leg now, and also that big statue is still coming after him. With all his potency and surviving sense, our hero started to crawl on his body to the nearby statue with a musical instrument. Just a split second was all the time, but our hero finally made it to the statue. After that, every statue with the instruments started to give the song, and the statue gets satisfied and goes to its seat. The healer girl rushed to our hero to heal him, but she is already at her limits to cough blood out of her mouth. But that's not a big problem now, it's the third commandment. It has already started, the statue raised as sacrificing altars at the center of that dungeon. The team has already lost its teamwork. As they already seen what will happen if they succeed the commandments, they started to register themselves in the commandment by going near the altar one by one. That's when they notice something intriguing, for each one of them going in a certain radius around the altar, a fire opens around them. As they are six fires is opened around them. And after everyone completely entered the radius, suddenly some blue flames started to rise around the orange flames in a certain radius. Just while analyzing them, the statues with weapons have started to charge at them. Everyone is confused to see that action. But there are 3 advantages for them. If they lock their sight on a statue, that statue won't move until they blink, then, for each minute a blue flames will go out, so our hero deduces in way, if all the blue flames go out, then the commandment will be completed, and finally, the door of the dungeon itself is opened. Even though everyone stood along with everyone, as the time flies, the fear got into everyone's mind which made them go out of the dungeon. But the doorway also has a risk. If the door is to be opened, then at least one member should be within the altar's radius until the last minute, otherwise the door will be completely closed. But one person can't keep his eyesight on every statue, so the statues will eventually get near to him and kill him in an instant. So, as the altar raised, the third commandment requires a sacrifice among them to spare every other's life. Now the altar has only 3, the team leader, the healer girl, and our hero. As they couldn't lock every statue, they are in a critical situation to make a decision. That's when that team leader volunteered him as a sacrifice for the responsibility of team leader. He asks the healer girl to get our hero to the door, she also nods him, but suddenly she sits on the ground as she couldn't feel her legs anymore. Earlier, when she healed our hero, she already used every ounce of her magic, which made her too weak for the situation. Our hero already lost one of his legs, and now someone has to life the healer girl and run, otherwise she can't escape the dungeon, but unfortunately our hero has no time for that. So everything comes straight on to our hero's head in this situation. Realizing that, our hero himself volunteered him as a sacrifice now and asked the leader to get the healer out of TH dungeon along with him. His actions made our leader get goosebumps. He thanked our hero and got her out of the dungeon. Now as a lonely rabbit, our hero looks at his death eyes to eyes straight and is ready to fight it. Even though he is the weakest of the whole world, he is the strongest soldier when it comes to willpower. But he realized at the first strike of that statue that he can't fight it. As his blood sheds all over the sacrifice altar, his body is punctured by the swords of the statue. He thinks all his moments and how hard he tried to survive each and every moment since he is the weakest. He still wants to survive at any cost and for another chance, but the sacrifice didn't stop yet. One of the statues punctured his heart and put him on the altar as he screams out high final voice, his blood spilling on the altar. Our hero sees his last moment as a biggest sword is approaching straight on his body. Then he blacks out with a notification enters his mind which asks to accept him as a player, then the story ends. The episode ends with a different twist, and we will see what happens to him at the next episode. Until then.